So while we're all in this quarantine season, we're probably learning things about ourselves. I've learned something about myself. The three things that I'm most likely to do in my life, I guess, are eat at busy restaurants, go to non-essential businesses, and constantly touch my face. I'm learning that during this season. All the three things that you're not supposed to do seem to be the three things that I do the most. I saw that meme on social this week and laughed so hard because all of the things that are normal in our lives seem to not be normal. But God has got something for you on this Easter day that's incredible. I want to take you back to a time. I want you to go back with me to second grade. I actually have I've gone back into my childhood this week, and I've recreated a version of my second grade lunchbox. I had a couple different versions during that time in my life. I had a Dukes of Hazzard, and I had an A-Team one, which was probably my favorite one. And there was some Star Wars stuff in there at one time. But I want to let you just kind of peek into what was normally in my life, because second grade lunches for me was about one thing. It was about the Great Exchange, because maybe you'll understand if I just show you some of the things that my mom packed for me in my lunchbox. We always had the apple that no one eats. Here we've got organic beet chips. I never actually had organic beet chips, but there's always something like organic beet chips that was in my lunch. Date balls, that's like dates that are rolled up with nuts on them, and if that wasn't enough, a nut mix, and then the famous homemade mom trail mix, and it didn't have the real M&Ms, it had the fake M&Ms in it, so it wasn't even real chocolate there. There's gonna be some kind of a vegetable, if I'm lucky, maybe ants on a log. If you know what ants on a log are, then you're showing your age. While that was fun to make ants on a log, it did not compare to some of the other things that my friends had at lunch. And then, for the drink, it was always something with no fructose. They didn't call it that then. There was no corn syrup, no sugar, basically no fun drink is what I call it. There was a no fun drink that was in my lunch. And my whole day leading up to lunch was all about one thing. I was going to try to trade these items for some of the things that my friends were bringing. Now, my friends, looking back, their parents were terrible. I'm just going to say it. I don't know what kind of parent would allow these kids to go to school with the items that were in their lunchbox. And so while I didn't like what my mom packed for my lunch then, I'm actually really grateful today. So kids, if your mom packs anything like this in your lunch, just thank her that you don't have diabetes or you're not on the way to getting diabetes. My friends would roll up to school with their lunch boxes, and they would open the lid, and they would have, Twinkies, Ding Dongs, Ho-Hos. They would have that whole row of donuts, like they're either the chocolate ones or the white ones, and it's not just one, it's like the entire row. They call it 3 serving size. It's really 1 serving, okay, if you're a kid. Every now and then I would get lucky and I would get a cookie. I would get a Fig Newton. Okay, I'm just going to tell you, they made Oreos when I was a kid. They were around. Other kids had that. They had pop for lunch, all right? While they were on track to diabetes at a young age, I desperately wanted to exchange the things I had in my lunchbox for the things that they had. I'm going to tell you right now that was a very difficult proposition. There was no one that was going to trade any of these items, right, for a Twinkie, right? I mean, I would tell them, I'll give you yesterday's vegetables because I still have them in here, today's vegetables and tomorrow's vegetables for 1 Twinkie. No one ever took me up on that. Not one time did I get a trade for something like this for a Twinkie. And they would spot the non-real M&Ms, mom trail mix from halfway across the cafeteria. I never got a good exchange. I never got a good trade because the truth is, these are terrible items if you're in second grade and you're trying to trade for some good snacks. The only way that I actually ever got a trade is it took me a couple of weeks to figure out that if I told everyone we should all put our snacks in one bag and then it was like a grab bag thing, then I could get it. But it only took a few times for one kid to get my date mix or the organic beet chips before they were like, we're never going to do that again. We're never going to do the all in one pot. And so I quickly learned that you have to have something really good if you're going to come to trade. If you're going to come to make an exchange and you're going to get something good out of the exchange, you've got to have something really good for an exchange. Many of us, some of us are, but many of us are no longer in second grade. But we're still carrying some things around in kind of our metaphorical lunchbox. There's things that we've accumulated in our life, and as we come to making an exchange, it's rough going. Maybe if you open up the lunchbox in your life, or the things that you've accumulated in your life, and you sit down and you want to make a trade, you might have some things that you're carrying around like lust. Maybe you're carrying around debt, an anger problem that's destroying relationships. You know, some difficulty in your life, something that's happened to you, or something that you can't shake, something that nobody else wants. A lot in life, a situation in life that, quite frankly, if someone else were to look and trade with you or make an exchange, there's nothing good that could come from it. If you come to the table and the truth is you've just got nothing good to exchange with anyone, Jesus has something to say about this. Paul writes to the church in Rome in Romans chapter 5, and he talks about this very thing. He says, when the time was right, the anointed one came and died to demonstrate his love for sinners who were entirely helpless, weak, and powerless to save themselves. I believe that people, especially during this season, are thinking about big things. I think we're all thinking about some of the largest questions in life. Where is God, and where's my relationship with God, and how do I come to him, and what do I bring God, and what has God given me, and what is the exchange between me and God? And the truth is, when we come to God to exchange something, we kind of open up our life and look at it. The things that we have are things that no one would really want. Maybe it looks good on the outside, but when you open it up and you get into some of the corners of our life, there's some things in there that truly no one would exchange us for. It goes on to say this. Paul's writing to the church in Rome. He says, "Who would dare to die for the sake of a wicked person? We can all understand if someone was willing to die for a truly noble person. But Christ proved God's passionate love for us by dying in our place while we were still lost and ungodly." There's still so much more to say of his unfailing love for us, for through the blood of Jesus, we have heard the powerful declaration, "You are now righteous in my sight." And because of the sacrifice of Jesus, you will never experience the wrath of God. This is an incredible part of this letter that Paul is writing to the church here. This declaration that we're righteous in God's sight. He goes on to actually use the word in the Greek, exchange, right here. He says this, So, if while we were still enemies, God fully reconciled, the word there in the Greek is exchanged. God exchanged us to himself through the death of his Son. Then something greater than friendship is ours. Now that we are at peace with God, and because we share in his resurrection's life, how much more will we be rescued from sin's dominion? Here's the reality in our lives. We are never going to be able to take the mess that we are in this silly analogy. We're never going to be able to take the nasty snacks we have and turn them into ding-dongs and ho-hos. And if you're trying to get good enough to have a relationship with God, stop it, because it will never work. It's never going to happen. And it doesn't have to. That's the beautiful exchange. Here's the trade that Jesus says he'll make with us. He comes to us and he looks in our life and he sees the mess that we have, and he says, I'll make you a trade. I'll take all of your sin and all of the mess that you have in your life, and I'll trade you. Jesus says this, I'll trade you all of that sin for all of my perfectness, all of my righteousness, the Bible calls it. That is the most beautiful exchange that has ever happened and ever will happen in the history of mankind. You can never make a deal better than that one. That is a beautiful exchange. And in our lives, when it starts to look like everything is getting darker and darker, And all of the things, the sin that is really collected in our life gets to a point where we can't hold it up anymore. And we can't manage it. We can't fix it. At that moment, when things get its darkest, Jesus is the light of the world. His offer to all of us of a beautiful exchange is light in our lives. If we've never made that exchange with Jesus, bringing him all of our stuff that no one else wants and trading it for his perfection, if we've never done that, the truth is this: we're living our lives in darkness. How crazy is it that a quarantine situation could be bringing some of us to a place of more light in our life than we ever thought was possible? And this entire situation in your life could really be ushering you into an exchange with Jesus, a beautiful exchange. And here's what's crazy. Your feelings don't matter in this. The facts are what matter, that Jesus Christ lived a perfect life, that he was the Son of God, that he was brutally killed. He allowed himself to be killed for us. And he was put in a grave. And 3 days later, he rose from that grave. Over 500 people saw him over the next month. People witnessed with their own eyes, went to their death. There was no motivation for them to say, I saw Jesus, but person after person testified to the fact that they saw Jesus alive, and the church was born, and the church has never been canceled. The church has never been stopped, and quarantine is not stopping your opportunity from coming into a beautiful exchange with Jesus. We would love to talk with you right now in this very moment. There's a way that you can text right here on the screen and you can talk to a person. And I'm telling you this, if you're in the dark, there's no way that we can take our stuff and get it good enough for Jesus. That's not the place to start. The way to turn the light on is to just come to him. We'd love to usher you through that moment. We'd love to see that beautiful exchange happen. I can guarantee you this, there is nothing in this world more beautiful, more incredible than a relationship with Jesus. It's the light that's in your life, and this is your time. As we sing this song right now, wherever you are at, if you're by yourself or you're sitting with some friends, if you're on a watch party, if you're on a walk right now and you've got your buds in, take a moment. Call someone. Call us. Let us pray with you and walk you through a beautiful exchange with Jesus Christ. He will take your sin and he will hand you back his perfection, his righteousness. Would you please let us share that moment with you today as we sing?